Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you today. We went on a little family outing, an unexpected family outing yesterday on Saturday, and I was expecting to stay in and read a book and just kind of relax. But we went ahead and had some family time. Had several of you in the comments of my Friday Reads video tell me that was the advice you gave me. Get some rest and get some family time. So I got family time first, and then I got some rest last night. And so I wanted to share with you on our little outing. I was able to weasel my way into another bookstore run, and so we went to Books Revisited, and I found 5 items that might be of interest to you. So I wanted to share with you what I got. Um, I'm not going to try to get into the Cold War that the OGBG is in. I don't know that I have the firepower for that. I don't know that I have the age for that. I don't know if I'm old enough to be considered an old geezer. Anyway, eat your heart out, guys. Here's five books. If they're good enough to be considered a shot across the bow, then I'll throw in my take on this. But I don't know if my age gets me into that battle that they've been in. But anyway, here we go. So first one that I found is Bruce Canton's The Civil War, and it's got an introduction by James McPherson. I was pretty excited when I seen this. This was only $1. It's an American Heritage book. I do have one thing, and I'm curious to know, and maybe you guys can answer it, is I have upstairs Bruce Canton's American Heritage, The Short History of the Civil War. And then this is The Civil War. Is that the same book? Is the short history just taken from this, or are those two separate works? I'm curious to know that. I have no idea. But I was happy to find this because I love Bruce Canton. He did an excellent job with history. Of course, he passed away in 1978, so he's been gone for quite a while. But his work still stands the test of time. It's absolutely awesome. So let me read the back of the book to you here. Infinitely readable and absorbing, Bruce Canton's The Civil War is one of the best-selling, most widely read general histories of the war available in a single volume. Newly introduced by the critically acclaimed Civil War historian James McPherson, the Civil War vividly traces one of the most moving chapters in American history. From the early division between the North and South to the final surrender of Confederate troops, Canton's account of the battles is carefully interwoven with details about the political activities of the Union and Confederate armies and diplomatic efforts overseas. The new edition of the Civil War is a must-have for anyone interested in the war that divided America. And I love his writings because he takes a very complicated subject and he can simplify it so that us average Joes can understand that. So that was a nice collection, or a nice book to add to the collection. And so the next one that I picked up is called A Wilderness So Immense, The Louisiana Purchase and the Destiny of America by John Kukla. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But this is a guy, I had not heard of him, but this is an ex-library copy, as many of these will be. They're ex-library copies from the St. Joe Library, but it is a great edition. I was real excited to add this. This is let's see here, 2003, published by Alfred Knopf. And its inside cover says, the remarkable story of the land purchase that doubled the size of our young nation set the stage for its expansion across the continent and confronted Americans with new challenges of ethnic and religious diversity. In a saga that stretches from Paris and Madrid to Haiti, Virginia, New York, and New Orleans, John Kukla shows how rivalries over the Mississippi River and its vast watershed brought France, Spain, Great Britain, and the United States to the brink of war and shaped the destiny of the new American Republic. We encounter American leaders, Jefferson and Jay, Monroe and Pickering, among them, clashing over the opening of the West and its implications for sectional balance of power. We see the disagreements nearly derailing the Constitutional Convention of 1787 and the spawning a series of separatist conspiracies long before the dispute over slavery in the territory set the stage for the Missouri Compromise and the Civil War. Kukla makes it clear that as the French Revolution and Napoleon's empire building rocked the Atlantic community, Spain's New World Empire grew increasingly vulnerable to American and European rivals. Jefferson hoped to take Spain's territories piece by piece, while Napoleon schemed to reestablish a French colonial empire in the Caribbean and North America. Interweaving the stories of ordinary settlers and imperial decision-makers, Kukla depicts a world of revolutionary intrigue that transformed a small and precious union into a world power, all without bloodshed and for about 4 cents an acre. So obviously one of the greatest land deals in all of world history. This book sounded like, when I read that, I got real excited because it sounded like it was going to be a great addition to, just to my library in general. But when you talk about the Louisiana Purchase, it does a great job of looking at it not just from the standpoint of here in America, but it sounded like it's dealing with the foreign, the foreign diplomacy that had to happen and how that affected other foreign nations. And so it's it was kind of a world event. I thought that was kind of cool. And so it'll give me a little bit more to get out of that. All right, so the most expensive book that I found was by Walter Isaacson, Einstein, His Life and Universe. And I'd wanted this, and I only paid $3. A Wilderness So Immense I only paid $2 for. So I only paid $3 for this, and I've wanted this for a while. I wanted this one, and then I also want his one on Leonardo da Vinci. Didn't he? I'm pretty sure he's the one that did the one on Leonardo da Vinci not that long ago. And I wanted to get those, but I held out, and I'm glad I did because I saved a couple bucks doing it. And so this is going to be a good addition. So this is and it's in really good shape. This one's not a library copy. This must have been a donation to Books Revisited. And so this is a Simon & Schuster paperback from New York, and it is from the year 2007. And the cover's still very crisp, and the corners, for the most part, are all nice and sharp. So I'm pretty excited about that. So by the author of the acclaimed bestseller, Benjamin Franklin, which was an excellent book, by the way. I did read that one. This is the first full biography of Albert Einstein since all his papers have become available. How did his mind work? What made him a genius? Isaacson's biography shows how his scientific imagination sprang from the rebellious nature of his personality. His fascinating story is a testament to the connection between creativity and freedom. And then it's just a whole bunch of, like 3 more blurbs from authors. But Isaacson's a great author. I love his stuff. I love his writing. He does a nice job making the story flow. Like I said, I love that Ben Franklin book. It was good. So that's a nice addition to the collection. So I think I shared with you before that one of the things I've been trying to do is I try to collect pieces that my books that I teach in class, subjects that I teach in class. And so my favorite subject that I teach the kids is the antebellum period. And so I've been trying real hard to keep my eyes open for books about all of the individual events that happened in the 1850s. And so I saw this one, and it might be the one that I took a chance on the most because I had never heard of the author. And when I opened it up, the font is kind of small, and it might be a little bit harder to read, a little more dense, I think. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be a nice addition. It is Dred Scott's Advocate, a biography of Roswell M. Field by Kenneth C. Kaufman. And so the Dred Scott case in the 1850s. Of course, that was a big case. And, this has a signature on it. I don't know if it's the real thing. I didn't even notice that. I don't know if that's the real deal, but that's a signature by Ken Kaufman from 1998, so that's nice. This is a University of Missouri Press, Columbia and London. It's from 1996, and read the front cover to you. How did Roswell M. Field, a highly regarded attorney who specialized in real estate cases, become the attorney for an illiterate and penniless slave named Dred Scott? What was it about the case that so intrigued him that he spent years of his life fighting for Scott? Although the answers, let me get that where you can see it. Although the answers to these questions remain elusive, there are clues. In Dred Scott's advocate, Kenneth C. Kaufman suggests they are to be found in the character of Roswell Field himself, in his interests and beliefs, and in the circumstances of the times in which he lived. Told through the eyes of the brilliant attorney and plaintiff who participated in this historic courtroom drama, this story recreates the suspense of more than a decade of litigation as Dred Scott maneuvered his way through an often hostile American judicial system in the hope of achieving his freedom. Field took the case from Missouri all the way to the United States Supreme Court, whose decision against Scott set off a national furor, helped elect Abraham Lincoln president, and was a major event contributing to the outbreak of the Civil War. Kaufman vitalizes the often dull official law records and brings to life those who once participated in this famous legal drama. He puts Field and Scott at center stage and convincingly shows why Field is remembered, not for his professional services to prominent St. Louis landowners who paid him well, but for helping the untutored black slave who paid him nothing. Little has been known about his noteworthy Missourian, but the author's skillful reading of his sources allows a thoughtful and revealing portrait of Field and makes a compelling case for his importance in history. Dred Scott's advocate effectively shows that the anti-slavery and pro-slavery forces fought their battles in the nation's judicial chambers before they fought them with guns and cannons at Chickamauga, Manassas, Shiloh, and Gettysburg. This well-written and engaging story of Field, Scott, and the Dred Scott case will be of interest to all readers of American, African American, and legal history. And so I thought that sounded like a good addition. It was probably the one I took a chance on the most because I haven't heard of that author. And like I said, the reading looks like it could be maybe a little bit dense on the subject, but I think it'll be good anyway around it. So the last one that I picked up that was very interesting, or looks very interesting, I kind of like the cover. It's simple, but just kind of neat. You see, we've got Ellis Island in the background. So we got American Passage, The History of Ellis Island by Vincent J. Canato. And this, of course, I teach about immigration to the United States, and we do a little unit on Ellis Island, and then we talk about some of the other entry points around the United States. And so this is a HarperCollins book, and it is from 2009. And like I said, this just looked neat, and I've been trying to collect books about the stuff that I teach the kids, just trying to improve my education along the way. So this one says on the inside cover, for most of New York's early history, Ellis Island has been an obscure little island that barely held itself above high tide. Today, the small island stands alongside Plymouth Rock in our nation's founding mythology as the place where many of our ancestors first touched American soil. Ellis Island's heyday, from 1892 to 1924, coincided with one of the greatest mass movements of individuals the world has ever seen. With some 12 million immigrants inspected at its gates, in American Passage, Vincent J. Canato masterfully illuminates the story of Ellis Island from the days when it hosted pirate hangings witnessed by thousands of New Yorkers in the 19th century to the turn of the 20th century when massive migrations sparked fierce debate and hopeful new immigrants often encountered corruption, harsh conditions, and political scheming. American Passage captures a time and a place unparalleled in American immigration history and articulates the dramatic and bittersweet accounts of the immigrants, officials, interpreters, and social reformers who all play an important role in Ellis Island's chronicle. Canato traces the politics, prejudice, and ideologies that surrounded the great immigration debate to the shift from immigration to detention of aliens during World War II and the Cold War. all the way to the rebirth of the island as a national monument. Long after Ellis Island ceased to be the nation's preeminent immigrant inspection station, the debates that once swirled around it are still relevant to Americans a century later. In this sweeping, often heart-wrenching epic, Canado reveals that the history of Ellis Island is ultimately the story of what it means to be an American. And so that sounded like it was going to be pretty interesting. And I've only got one other book on Ellis Island, and that was one I took to school. And I may have shared it in a video, I can't remember, but it was a probably middle school / high school age book, and it was full of color photos and takes you through the history of Ellis Island. But this is actually a more of a history of it for an adult reader, not just a kid. So I was pretty excited to get this, and it's got some photos in the middle, black and white photos. So 5 books. Again, I don't know if I'm old enough to be in the OGBG, but maybe I'm just one of those young whippersnappers who likes to run his mouth and try to get involved in a fight that he shouldn't be in. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you've read any of these, let me know what you think. Leave it in the comments below. And BookTube, hope everyone has a great day. Happy reading.